Oh my God. The 2025 NFL trade deadline did not disappoint. I was a little worried leading up to it that it was just going to be a quiet deadline this year with a ton of rumors, a ton of smoke that wasn't really going to come true. And did the Jets not disappoint? Holy fire sale we saw from the Jets, a team that is not making the playoffs this year, that basically just blew up their defense and what they were building at all going forward. We're going to start off with the biggest one today, and we're going to grade every single trade made here at the 2025 NFL deadline. So we're going to start off with the blockbuster, the one that you could have guessed 200 different guys to get traded today, and I don't even know if you would have gone to Sauce Gardner of the New York Jets. Yes, Sauce Gardner gets traded to the Indianapolis Colts, a team that is at the top of the AFC South right now, that has had great offensive progression this year with Daniel Jones, Jonathan Taylor, and that collective unit. This team was a little banged up in the secondary, and they just went and got an all-pro corner in Sauce Gardner from the New York Jets, the 2022 NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, a two-time all-pro first-team member in 2022 and in 2023 with the New York Jets, is now an Indianapolis Colt. Going back to the Jets in this trade, 2 first-round picks and second-year receiver Adonai Mitchell. We talked about a bunch of trade deadline predictions for AD Mitchell to get traded, and that made a ton of sense. The Colts were exceeding expectations this year with Downs, Tyler Warren, Pittman, and Alec Pierce. Really no room for Mitchell on this roster going forward. And I don't mind the Jets taking a flyer on Adonai Mitchell, AD Mitchell going forward. And actually, when this trade happened, I was like, this is not what I expected whatsoever. But more that I read into it and more than I think about it, I think this is a win-win trade for both teams and where they're heading right now. And I actually like the Jets side of this just a tad bit more. So I'm actually giving the Jets an A+ in this deal, and I'm giving the Colts an A. Now you may look and say, the Jets, what are you doing? This is your all-pro corner. He's 25 years old, but where are the Jets right now? They're at the bottom of the NFL standings. They have 1 win this season. We know they're not making the playoffs right now. They just paid a ton of money to Sauce Gardner in the offseason. 4 years, $120 million with about $30 million guaranteed. And I think it just makes more sense for their long-term outlook to kind of reset this defense, reset their identity. Yes, it hurts that you traded away Sauce Gardner, but it hurt when they traded away Jamal Adams in 2020 to the Seattle Seahawks and they got 2 first-rounders. Now, Gardner, definitely a better player right now than Jamal Adams was, but what is his purpose on the Jets? I don't think the Jets were making the playoffs next year, and you got 2 first-round picks to build up ammunition to maybe get a quarterback or build around your quarterback. What if the Jets end up with Fernando Mendoza this year in the 2026 draft, and now you can use an additional first rounder this year to have another receiver with Garrett Wilson out there, and now maybe AD Mitchell, maybe it's a tight end, maybe it's a running back, maybe it's more offensive line help because some of these guys may come and go over the next year or so, and you can use that pick to maybe build around your franchise quarterback because the Jets have kind of been defensive-minded first over the last few years. Maybe it's time we change that. I feel bad for Aaron Glenn that this is going to be a very bad roster in the second half of the season because Gardner isn't the only main defensive contributor that they ended up trading away. And Gardner isn't as good as maybe he was in his first 2 years. He's still a really good corner in this league. And the Colts, who paid a lot of money to Javarius Ward in the offseason, they have Kenny Moore. You have Cameron Bynum as well in that secondary. This is an elite secondary right now for the Indianapolis Colts, a team that is going for it. And I love it. Like right now, you're going to give up a late first-round pick for Sauce Gardner. You do that 100% of the time. You're hoping that you're going to give up a late first-rounder next year for Sauce Gardner as well, and I don't think you're going to lose sleep trading away AD Mitchell, because if he becomes a good receiver in New York, he probably was never going to have the opportunity to become that receiver in Indianapolis. So you're fully going for it. I'm giving them an A because there is some risk to this trade. What if Gardner does not translate seamlessly to the Colts system? What if it's kind of an adjustment period for Sauce in Indianapolis? What if he gets hurt? There's definitely a little bit more risk, in my opinion, with the Colts in this trade. But like I said, I love that they are going for it. They have one of the best running backs in the league. They have a great offense in general around Daniel Jones and his turnaround season this year. The offensive line is playing well. And now you just got another elite playmaker on the defensive side of the field in Sauce Gardner. So I'm giving the Colts an A. I'm giving the Jets an A+. It's going to suck watching the Jets throughout the rest of the year. Definitely in that secondary. They lost DJ Reed in the offseason last year. They lose Sauce Gardner now in a trade. But I think if you're going to go in this direction, I'm glad the Jets went this way. And they're going to have a lot of draft capital in 26 and 27. And maybe this is just a new era in East Rutherford. All right, so we'll go back to the Jets later. I want to talk about some of the wide receiver trades that went down. I want to talk about the Seahawks landing Rashid Shaheed, who reunites with the offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, who was in New Orleans last year, is now in Seattle. And with the injury to Cooper Kupp, this makes a ton of sense for Seattle to get a deep ball threat in Rashid Shaheed. And I'm going to give the Seahawks an A for this deal as well. Rashid Shaheed is averaging about 15 yards per catch throughout his career. And like I said, can provide them a deep ball threat for this offense that is excelling this year, that is being one of the best offenses, not just just in the NFC West, not just in the NFC, but in the whole NFL in general. You have your wide receiver one, like a true elite wide receiver one in JSN. With Cup banged up, Torrey Horton looked really good against the Commanders on Monday night, and now you have another option in Shaheed going forward. They gave up a 4th and 5th round draft pick, and I'm going to give this one a B+ for Seattle. I didn't really expect them to be a team to go out and get a receiver, and yeah, they have a lot of young guys outside of JSN, who still is young as well, trying to step up right now. We saw Cody White catch a touchdown for the Seattle Seahawks on Monday. Like I said, that Torrey Horton had to step up as well. I'm going to give them a B+, because there's definitely some risk to this trade, as Shaheed is a free agent at the end of the year. Giving up a 4th and a 5th for a rental receiver is just pretty much how the market goes. I just want to wait and see how this works out as well, because is Shaheed going to get the second most touches on this team? Like, they have 2 dynamic running backs that fantasy football players do not love the dynamic between the two. You have JSN as your clear one. Where is Shaheed's role going to fit on this team in the second half of the year? Is it going to take some getting used to adapt, or is he going to feel comfortable playing with his old offensive coordinator as well? I still think the Seahawks did well in this deal, and for the Saints, I'm giving this one an A. If they didn't trade Shaheed at all, this would have been like an F decision for them, as Shaheed is a free agent at the end of the year. It doesn't really fit your timeline going forward, and the fact that they got a 4th for him, I think you got to be thrilled about that if you're Mickey Loomis and you're the New Orleans Saints going forward, because they could definitely take a receiver in the 4th round that could maybe be as good as Shaheed, or the 5th that is going to be a lot younger and cheaper moving forward. Next up, we have Jakobi Meyers getting traded from the Las Vegas Raiders to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Maybe Jacksonville really liked what they saw on Sunday against the Raiders, because they just played Jakobi Meyers. I don't know if I like this trade as much for Jacksonville. Now, I know that Travis Hunter is banged up, maybe out for the year, but I kind of like Parker Washington as somebody that could step up on this team. I know Brian Thomas Jr. has been a little bit disappointing so far this season, and maybe I'm just lower on Jacksonville's playoff chances and maybe Super Bowl chances than I am about the Seattle Seahawks. That, you know what, I'm glad they're aggressive here, but giving up a 4th and a 6th for a receiver that I doubt they re-sign at the end of the year, given that they'll have Thomas, you would think, Travis Hunter, and Parker Washington on their roster going forward. Myers has maybe taken a little bit of a step back this year as a 28-year-old. We know that he was unhappy in Las Vegas. He requested a trade before the season even started, and he hasn't really had a good working chemistry with Geno Smith this year, and this whole offense has kind of been disappointing at times. But I think it's a little bit rich, 4th and a 6th as well for the Jacksonville Jaguars to give up. I thought it was a little shocking too that he went for less than Rashid Shaheed, so that's why I still like it for Jacksonville, and I'm giving them a B- here. I just wonder if they would have just been fine going forward. Maybe could have traded for an offensive lineman or somebody defensively, and could have given up like a 7th round swap for just a lower tier receiver and invested more in Parker Washington going forward. As for Las Vegas, Jakobi Meyers was probably going to leave you at the end of the year anyway. We could see more Jack Bech, we could see more Dante Thornton throughout the end of the year, and Brock Bowers is back and looked like a monster on Sunday going forward. I think this was just a smart trade for the Raiders, so I'm giving this one a B. And then I'm going to talk about a trade that happened before today's deadline. This was between the Miami Dolphins and the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalean Phillips getting traded from Miami to Philadelphia in exchange. And I actually don't love this trade for the Philadelphia Eagles, so I'm actually giving them a C+, and I'm going to give the Dolphins a B+ in this deal. For Miami, this team is not doing much here in the 2025 season. They're not going to make the playoffs most likely. This team may look very different in the 2026 season. Maybe a new head coach. We know it's going to be a new GM, maybe a new quarterback. Phillips has not been the same player since he tore his ACL at MetLife a couple years ago. He was so good before that ACL injury, and that's why this is a big risk for the Philadelphia Eagles as well. I know it's a big name, and I know Howie Roseman likes to get the big names, but for where Miami's going forward, getting a 3rd rounder, a team that didn't have a ton of draft capital in the 2026 NFL draft, I like them getting a 3rd rounder for a piece that I don't think was going to be here much longer, as Phillips could definitely turn back to the player he was in the past, and now Howie Roseman is going to look great, not really giving up a major draft pick for a distraught asset. But I feel like Howie Roseman likes the big names too much that are in bad situations. It's worked out in the past, like Mekhi Becton in New York, and Philly desperately needed an edge rusher right now. But I wonder how this team is going to look throughout the rest of the year with Jalean Phillips, who hasn't been great with Miami this year, although he's going to have a lot better defenders playing with in Philly with a different motivation for a team that could win the Super Bowl again this year. But will we look at Philly in a year from now saying they wish they had their 3rd round pick on draft night? I guess it won't matter if they win the Super Bowl, though. This one, I think, is a little bit risky for Howie Roseman. We'll see if I look like an idiot in a few weeks, which could definitely happen. And speaking of Howie Roseman liking to get the big names, he also traded for Jaire Alexander over the weekend as well. Now, I don't really have a grade for this trade just because I don't really think the Eagles are expecting too much in this one. I mean, it's basically Jaire Alexander and a 7th going from Baltimore to Philly in exchange for a 6th round pick. That's how low the league thinks of Jaire Alexander right now, who is far removed from the elite corner he was in Green Bay for all of those years. He basically signed a one-year deal with the Ravens in the offseason after getting released. The Eagles also traded for Michael Carter from the Jets, so they're really trying to add to the secondary right now, which is feeling maybe the losses of some of the guys that left them last offseason in the secondary. Now they're basically going to have Cooper DeJean go from inside to outside to pair him with Quinion Mitchell, and maybe these guys will end up in the slot. In the year 2025, this is a very small trade, but I thought I'd at least mention it just because Jaire Alexander is a notable name. The Baltimore Ravens also made another trade where they moved Odafe Owe to the Chargers a couple weeks ago. They went out and got Dre'Mont Jones from the Tennessee Titans. Jones is having one of the best years of his career, and it made sense for Tennessee to move on from Jones just where they are right now. They got in exchange for Jones a 2026 conditional 5th round pick. Jones right now has 4.5 sacks and 9 quarterback hits in 9 games. He's got 19 quarterback pressures this year, and that's 7 more than the Ravens leader in that category, which is their nose tackle, Travis Jones. He's also on a one-year deal as well. So like I said, it just made sense for Tennessee to move off from him, and it made sense for the Ravens, who think they can still maybe go for it this year with Lamar Jackson back and then beating the Miami Dolphins last Thursday. So yeah, I'll probably give the Ravens a B for this trade. I like them going after it. I still think they can make the playoffs, and I'll give the same for the Tennessee Titans as well. Just at least get something for somebody who's probably going to leave you at the end of the year. Now, the Cowboys made 2 trades. I'll talk about the bigger one first. They traded for Quinnen Williams from the New York Jets. Yeah, the Jets went full fire sale. They traded their 2 best defensive players, Sauce Gardner to the Colts and Quinnen Williams to the Cowboys, a team that just lost to Arizona on Monday night. I know I said that Washington played Seattle on Monday night. I apologize. That was Sunday night. But yeah, Quinnen Williams gets traded in exchange for a 2027 first round pick. The Cowboys had 2. We know one of them being from the Green Bay Packers and their first round pick. I believe it's the better of the 2 first rounders. I expect Dallas to probably be not as good as Green Bay next year, although anything can happen. A 2026 second rounder and defensive lineman, former first rounder, Mozzie Smith. Quinnen Williams signed a 4-year, $96 million extension with the Jets in 2023, so he's owed about $15.5 million this year in base salary, $20 million next year, $25 million in 2027, and then they can eventually get out of this contract because he'll be done by then. So Williams is 28 years old. He's in his prime right now. He's still one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL, and the Cowboys defense this year has been abysmal, to nobody's surprise, since they traded away Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers. Imagine Quinnen Williams and Micah Parsons on your defensive line. Now that would have been something else, that's for sure. I don't think the Cowboys are going to make the playoffs this year, so this is really just a bet on Quinnen Williams over the duration of this contract and Dallas looking better in 2026. Williams is making a decent amount of money, and they got to pay George Pickens and maybe Javonte Williams in the offseason. Now, since I like the Jets trading away Sauce Gardner, I'm also really going to like them trading away Quinnen Williams. Don't half-ass it. Go all the way in your rebuild. They got a first rounder and a second rounder and just a former first rounder. Mozzie Smith's probably not going to be anything for the Jets, but it could be something for their rebuild going forward. So the Jets in the 2026 draft have 2 first round picks. Their pick, which could be number 1, we'll see. It'd be better if they could take Mendoza. Didn't have to trade with like the Titans to get Mendoza, right? And they also have the Colts first round pick, which is going to be in the 20s. Now in 2027, maybe a better quarterback class, we'll see, but everybody is hyping up the 27 draft to be one of the best ones in a couple years. Jeremiah Smith is in that class. Ryan Williams, Dylan Stewart. It is going to be a loaded class. We still have no idea who maybe the best quarterback will be. Maybe it'll be Arch. Hey, we don't know, but this is how the Jets should go about their rebuild. I know they're losing playmakers, but they still have some players on their team, and they're going to have a ton of draft capital going forward. Now, if the Jets just trade away Sauce and nobody else, maybe I would have liked that Sauce trade a little bit less, but I think they got a really good return for Sauce. I think they got a really good return for Quinnen Williams, who's been there for 7 years now. He was drafted with the 3rd overall pick back in 2019. As for Dallas, I'm giving them a B+ in this trade. I don't really know if it makes a lot of sense. So they went out and they got Logan Wilson. I'll talk about that one in a second. And Quinnen Williams will help you next year, and he's under contract in the 2027 season as well. I'm just a little hesitant on this one because is Quinnen Williams going to magically fix your defense? Probably not. What if you just gave up a really good first round pick in 2027? We'll have to wait and see on that one. They gave up a second rounder in this year's draft. Pick they could probably use. Now, the odds of them taking somebody as good as Quinnen Williams over the next 2 years is not super likely. And there's like that meme where, hey, would you rather have a boat or a mystery box, which could end up being the boat, right? So Quinnen Williams is going to be a good Cowboy, but how good is he going to look when teams can double team Quinnen Williams, right? There's nobody that intimidating on this Dallas Cowboys defensive line now with Micah in Green Bay. So that's why I'm a little hesitant, but hey, you're not going to get somebody most likely as good as Quinnen Williams over this second round in 26 or first rounder in 27. That's why I still like this for the Cowboys, but they're probably not not going to make the playoffs this year. So Quinnen Williams, still in his prime, you're probably not going to get him for the playoffs this year as a 28-year-old. So yeah, the Dallas Cowboys traded away a 2026 7th rounder, basically nothing for Logan Wilson, who's having a down year and is a part of one of the worst defenses, if not the worst defense in the NFL. And Logan Wilson doesn't have a ton of help in Cincinnati, right? Not a lot of good defenders out there. He's going to be joined now with Quinnen Williams in Dallas. I'm probably just going to go C+ for Dallas here, C for the Bengals. If Wilson was just going to eventually walk anyway and he wasn't going to be on the Bengals in a year from now, you may as well get something. Maybe you should have traded him a year ago in 2024. It seems like the Bengals just wait on these things. Like the Cowboys, they're kind of a similar ran organization right now. For Dallas, Wilson should help them, giving them better what they have right now. So I'm giving them a C+. It's a 2026 7th rounder. Maybe Wilson and Quinnen Williams help turn this defense around. I think that's asking way too much out of those two, though. All right, so that is going to be for me. I hope you guys did enjoy my trade deadline grades. I thought after like the Sauce and Quinnen Williams trades, I know those are pretty much blockbusters in the NFL world. I thought we were maybe going to get like a Breece Hall trade leading up to the deadline, like no Chris Olave. The Browns didn't sell anymore. The Cardinals didn't sell anymore. No Kyler Murray trade. No Tua trade. The Steelers didn't get a receiver. The Giants didn't really do anything at the deadline. Let me know if you guys want to see like maybe a winners and losers from the deadline as well. We could do something like that. Maybe talk about some teams that didn't make trades more so. Today, I just kind of talked about the trades that ended up going down. Hey, I will say this is a success of a deadline. Like we've had big deals go down in the past, right? We've seen Von Miller get traded at the deadline. We've seen Christian McCaffrey get traded at the deadline. I would say that Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner are pretty big deals at that. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not already. Drop a thumbs up if you did enjoy. Let me know what you guys thought down below about this deadline. Did you agree with my grades? You disagree? Let me know why. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.